All right, what's up, traders? Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to talk about Bitcoin here really quick. Bitcoin's doing a lot of really good stuff. Obviously, it's breaking out. It made a fresh all-time high, which means we took out August's high. As you can see here, for the month of October, we are trading well above the high month close, which is fantastic. We have taken out the all-time high, as I stated earlier. We are kind of putting in what looks to be like a 3-drive topping formation. I don't think that this will be the top. Now, obviously, it could be, as when we opened up the month of October, it has literally only been going up. As you can see with today being up as well, you don't even have a one red day for the month of October. And the month of October has been here for 7 days. So you've got 7 straight up days. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a great start to Q4. And we're going to go over a few things as to why I don't think this will be the top. The first and foremost that we really should look at real quick is going to be the the Bitcoin ETF inflows. I want you to notice right here is the total category. Oh, well, let me get that to a color where you can actually see it. So over here is the totals. I want you to focus on those numbers. As you can see in September, the inflows were kind of small, 163, then 222. Then you had an outflow day of 363. Then you had one outflow of 103. So you can see the numbers. They're insignificant, and even on the red days, they're kind of small numbers. Now, what's interesting is I want you to jump over here to October. Last week of September, the numbers start going up, and then look at October, 675, October 2nd, 627, October 3rd, 985, Monday, yesterday, 1205. These are inflows. So there's a lot of participation starting to happen here on Bitcoin in the ETFs, which is fantastic because when people buy the ETFs, that means the ETF companies have to then go buy spot Bitcoin. So yeah, a lot of buying pressure happening here in the very beginning of Q4 for 2025. Now, if you are a proponent of the 4-year market theory cycle, right, or the 4-year market cycle theory, I should say, whereas every 4 years we get a halving, you get a nice bull market for the first couple years, and then late in the second year, while the bull market's going, after the halving, you end up having a big gigantic crash or a bear market where Bitcoin then goes on to lose over 70% of its value. Well, if you're a proponent of that theory, then you will be looking for shorts about November, December of this year. And you could be very, very wrong. Now, I don't see anything wrong with opening short positions on futures to basically hedge out any downside risk. I think that's actually very smart, a very smart way to trade, especially if you own spot Bitcoin. This year, though, is the first year that we have so many on-ramps to participate in Bitcoin volatility, being all of the ETFs and the MicroStrategy products that they have released this year, which is 5 if you count strategy itself as an on-ramp to trade Bitcoin. But they have 4 actual products that focus on people that have a lot of money. They might not want to participate in the Bitcoin volatility with the negative volatility. So there's ways that you can generate a yield just simply by owning Bitcoin and things like that. Like, these are all products that are designed to pull in massive amounts of liquidity. And we are starting to see that liquidity come in pretty heavy. Now, this is going to be the 3rd day in a row where we have printed a fresh all-time high. If we do that, today's day number 3. So a pullback could happen soon, but I would love to see this thing just keep going. I want to see that vicious breakout that we used to see with Bitcoin. Now, we haven't seen all year. Let's go back to the monthly chart real quick. Let me kill all these lines and just take a look at this. It's absolutely fantastic. When you look at Bitcoin just for the year of 2025. This is your January candle here. If you look at the price action that we've seen, basically, we know that for the first couple months of the year, we actually had a little bit of volatility as we had a new incumbent enter the White House, and then he started talking about tariffs and this and that, and it caused a lot of downside volatility, actually putting us into a bear market for a couple days. Well, then after that, in April, we set the lows of the year, and then we basically just essentially rallied up to the all-time high again, and then we went into a period of consolidation. If you look from where January's high is, the high that was printed in January, we haven't really gone anywhere. This was the first month that we busted through that high. So since May, we haven't gone very far in Bitcoin land. So this rally or the upside for 2025 may not have even gotten started yet. So very, very, very good looking chart here. You are actually seeing a breakout of a 3-month range here right now. 4 months if you count July, but since the all-time high, a new all-time high was set in August, I was just looking at the August candle. You are breaking out of 3-month highs. This could be very good. We could potentially see October be a fantastic month, and then going into November and finishing the year off strong in December. So in a sense, you could see 3 months of just straight upside. We did at the beginning of the year, we had upside targets on Bitcoin roughly about 140, and that would be if Bitcoin experienced a 50% rally for 2025. That would give you a price target of $140,000. And then if Bitcoin had a 100% rally, that would give you a price target of about 180,000, which in a sense just kind of aligns with Bitcoin seasonality. Here, let's go ahead and pull up the seasonality chart real fast so you can see what I'm talking about here. So if you just focus on the seasonals, 2023, 2024, both really good years where Bitcoin printed up well over 100% on the year. And then this blue line right here is us for 2025. So this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, Bitcoin really hasn't started to rally yet for the entire year. And then I want you to notice on all of these bull market years, 2020, 2023, 2024, all the colors are coordinated there. Notice where the rally really starts to take off here. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the majority of the gains for the year come in the late part of the year. So to reiterate this fact, we do have a very bullish bias here. We are going into we are or have been since last quarter of last year, been in a rate cutting cycle with the Fed that is been forecasted to continue. And yeah, I mean, we're not seeing any real reason to think that this rally couldn't continue. Now, with that being said, where would we be looking to put on hedges if we were anticipating a potential downside? Well, in this scenario, there's only one tool that you can use, and it would be like your fib extensions. Maybe something like this can give you potential targets to look for areas to put on downside risk measures, like if you wanted to put on a hedge on a futures product or something like that. In that you don't want to put on heavy risk to the downside. Obviously, you just want to put on a little bit, or at least enough money to where if you were to experience, say, a 30% or a 20% correction in Bitcoin, that at some point in that drawdown, you would reach parity as to how much Bitcoin that you own. You could do something like that. You know, not a lot of leverage. You're not necessarily looking to make money in a downturn. You're simply trying to protect the capital that you've made since you've owned Bitcoin. You could definitely do something like that. But having a full-on short side bias here, I don't think is a great a great strategy to employ it at the end of this year, even though we are going into what has typically been a very good time to start looking for shorts, being the 4-year cycle model. So yeah, pretty much looking really, really good here. I would love to see a pullback, support built in before we actually do the rally. But I mean, you kind of have been doing that for the last 3 months, if you think about it. So maybe we don't need a pullback. We'll see what happens here, but I do like it much higher. And I would love to see it break out and show us that strength, that sustainable rally. If we go over here and look at Ethereum, we're seeing Ethereum also do something similar in October. Clearly, we had the October open over here, and it has been pretty much just straight up since. That's fantastic. We're seeing this with Bitcoin and Ethereum at the same time. That's really good. That kind of gives me that full-on risk-on mode here. We were kind of concerned excuse me, we were kind of concerned with the Japanese yen, USD/JPY here. We were kind of concerned with the Japanese yen before we had Japan had an election, and the yen sold off really hard with that election. So this actually supports further bullishness, if you will, as we were concerned that the yen could potentially break out of this bear flag. If you look at the 2024 yearly trend or 2025 yearly trend, we started the year bearish, and then we went into a 6-month consolidation, or a flag, if you will. So we basically positioned ourselves for a short if it did break out to the downside. We're seeing now that market participants are going basically into full-on risk on, as the yen spiked up after that election, and we are now taking out the high that we put in back in July. So this is good news. The yen is weakening. Risk markets are pushing up. If we go look at the SPX cash market, you can see this thing has just been on an absolute tear since April lows were put in. Very slow, very methodical bull market. This is typically what we look for in a bull market. We want slow, grinding, very boring, very low volatile moves. That's what we've been seeing. So essentially everything is looking really good for bullish continuation here. Now, a couple of things that we're looking at. During the members only live stream on Sunday, I was telling my folks, or the members, that I was looking for Bonk to break out here because it hasn't yet. Whereas Fartcoin and Pingu both had pretty good moves last week, Bonk really was basically consolidating and didn't do anything. So we were looking for entries around the October VWAP, which is this blue line right in here. And that trade got stopped out, obviously, on Sunday evening. But then when we set or opened a brand new weekly range right here, we liquidated the previous day, which was Sunday's low, tagged August's low, and right there is where I initiated the buy position on Bonk. So I'm going to set into this and see what happens. Now, with the meme tokens, they might not experience massive rallies. We may see people start to rotate capital out of the meme tokens into other cryptos. So there are a few that we can look at, maybe, get positioned to capture any big bullish rally that hasn't really participated for like this crypto or this alt season, if you will. One of those tokens that I was looking at is actually W. This does have a use case. It is a cheap alt, but it does have a use case. It's basically a really disgusting chart as it only goes down. But for the entire year, since it sold off at the beginning of the year, it basically started a long-term consolidation down here and formed sort of a rounding bottom, if you will. And it's currently now breaking out of that rounding bottom right now, as September's high was basically holding it in. You've broken out of that. You're getting ready to test March's high. If you look at this on a monthly time frame here, if we get above March's high, we could see an extended rally on this, because once you get above that, the next high to get back above would be the February candle, and the February candle was a very large downside range. So if we are able to get above that March high, hold support above the March high, which is here, then I would be looking for buying opportunities and looking for that rally to continue on something like this maybe. And then obviously there are a lot of stocks and things that you can look to participate in this rally with as well. All that I can leave up to you to make your own decision where you want to participate. But I do believe that we're about to see things start to take off to the upside. Now, this morning, as far as a day trade is concerned, this morning we are seeing an interesting pattern here on Fartcoin with the cumulative volume delta down here. It does appear as if though there is more selling taking place today. Here's the 15-minute chart. Right here's your day open. And as you can see, it has literally been as sideways as it can be. But if you look at the volume delta, there has been a clear delta skewed to the sell side all day. So if you are looking for a short today, even though all the markets are basically as bullish as they can be, maybe you could look for a short in something like Fartcoin instead of Bitcoin. So that way, if Bitcoin ultimately does kind of pull back off of those highs and causes the rest of the crypto market to roll over, maybe this one here would be a better way to participate in some of that volatility to the downside, as the cumulative volume delta isn't always right. Let me just get that out there and say that right off the bat. This is not always right, but your high of day is going to be right here. So if we could liquidate 75.37 and potentially reverse from that point, we could look to put on some downside risk. Right now, you're testing 8-hour resistance, which is just the highest 8-hour candle bullish closure. That's where we get our resistance levels from. The right there is basically what you're testing right now. There's 2.5 hours left on this 8-hour candle. So this thing could roll over here, as we do have multiple areas of confluence. As far as the weekly and monthly VWAPs, price is currently trading above both of those. So your monthly VWAP, or your monthly volume weighted, is bullish, and your weekly volume weighted is bullish, because price is trading above both of those levels. But right here, the green line, that's going to be your weekly VWAP. You could break down under that. I think this would give us a decent downside target. So if we were able to put on a short here, you can see just getting down close to the VWAP would be a 3.8% move. That is more than enough to make money in a trade. So we're going to focus on Sharkcoin. We're going to focus on this to see if we can keep our britches clean. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to look at this for the short, and pretty much everything else we have a bullish bias on. It's very difficult for me to short things when I have a strong bullish bias. The trade that I'm in, the bonk long, it did pull back pretty substantially here, and I don't really like that, as the rejection came off of the weekly 21 exponential moving average. So if we go out here to the weekly chart and look at that right there, that faint yellow line, that is going to be your weekly 21 exponential. I marked it with an orange horizontal line. That's exactly where it's coming in at. So 2187, well, I've got it at 2186. Close enough. But that's basically where price rejected. Also, September's open is up there, as well as September's volume weighted average price. Typically, when we move into a new month, I will get rid of last month's volume weighted average price. But sometimes I'll wait, the first week or two just to basically see if price is going to come into contact with the level or not. If it does, I want to keep it on there. If it's nowhere near price, I usually delete it because I'm basically only focusing on the price action inside the month we're currently in. We'll see what happens here today on Bonk. I would love to see it continue higher, obviously, as I am long. But right now, it's coming into contention with the daily 21 exponential as well. So if you look at this on a daily chart, the day looks really good as far as yesterday and then now, today, as a pullback candle. As long as we're trading above yesterday's midpoint, which comes in real close to here, then I like it higher. But it does have a lot of confluence up here that could act as resistance. So instead of exiting this position, I'm just going to leave it open, see what happens. If it sells off today, then I want to capture that downside via Fartcoin, which, as you can see right now, is kind of rejecting that 8-hour res. Now, if you're new to the channel, the way I mitigate my risk is I'm using about $15,000 worth of trading capital, but I am not trading with the entire $15,000. I usually keep $13,000 in spot, and then I pull two grand of that money into the futures part of the platform. So right now I'm trading on weeks. That's the platform I'm using. I have $2,000 in my trading account. Basically, I open very small positions. So, and I generally risk about $30 per shot, right? If I'm trying to do a day trade every single day, then I got to keep my risk under $150 to basically keep my risk under 2% per trade. So if I split that up in increments of 3, it gives me 3 potential opportunities, losing $30 a pop. $30, $60, $90 is what I would lose if I was wrong on all 3 of my short setup entries. So that keeps me under my daily risk limit goal. Like, I do not want to lose over $150 per day. As long as I stay within that parameter, over time, my strategy is more than profitable because it allows me to get into a position, potentially eat a stop or 2, and then if I get in it again with the right position, lose $60 the first 2 shots, make $350 if I'm right. So it's a good risk to reward metric, since nobody in the world can predict what price will do, right? We have a lot of technical indicators that we can look at to give us a bias of what's going to happen inside of that daily range, but none of those indicators have a 100% hit rate. And since that is the case, in absolute fact, we can't predict what price will do. We can only throw out risk at high probable areas, and that will give us the best opportunity to participate in any volatility, whether we're looking for an upside rip or a downside rip. So that goes without saying. Today we're looking for a potential downside break on Fart, and we're looking for the upside rip on Bonk or whatever. It doesn't have to be Bonk. It could be a different one if you want. Let's go look at Pingu, see what's going on over there. And I will look at any crypto that you want to look at, any asset. We trade stocks, options, futures, cryptos, literally trade everything. So if you have an asset, just drop it in the chat. I'll take a look at it for you. We'll go look, analyze the price, see what it's doing, see what we think it may do in the future. Grab your coffee as the bell is getting ready to fire up here in 3 minutes. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day today. Lifestyle Media, Wes, where are the pants at? No pants. We rock no pants, baby. No shirt, no shoes, no pants, no problem. All right, excuse me there. Pingu currently testing and has been testing the yearly opening range for a few days here. So yesterday, it kind of looked like we would probably see it break out above today. Now, we did make a fresh daily high today, meaning we did take out yesterday's high, and so far it has reversed from that point. So you've got two major confluent levels here, being August's open and the year open. So two massive confluent levels here. So in a normal circumstance, like if say Bitcoin wasn't ripping up at fresh all-time highs right now, then we would be looking for a short here because it's down on the year. You know what I'm saying? The yearly trend is negative. So we would be looking for that potential trend to continue. Now we are above the daily 21 exponential moving average as denoted by the orange line, or delineated by the orange line. And I guess I don't have the weekly. Okay, the weekly is way down below us, so not really relevant. Now, we'll put it up there just to show us that the structure of the market here is bullish as you are trading above the weekly 21 exponential. And as of right now, are trading above the daily 21 exponential. If you look at all of your major moving averages being the 21, the 50, and the 100, the 200, and then down here being the 200 simple, the 50 and the 20 are both pretty much right here. Then here's your 100 and then the 200. All of these are EMAs. This is the 200 simple. Very bullish, right? They're all fanned out. They're kind of level or parallel, so they're not, fully erect. They're not going straight up. That is typically good. So if a big trend to the upside is about to occur, you would want to see that happen with a moving average structure such as this. So I would be looking for buying opportunities on Pingu at around 31.51.4 based on the structure of the market and because Bitcoin is bullish. I think with Pingu, Bonk, and Fartcoin, those three are going to be better to look at what Ethereum is doing, more so Bitcoin, I think. It just seems that as if though when Ethereum has a really good day, those three assets do too. Though right now, Ethereum is currently up 1.4% on the day. So if Ethereum finds a little bit of resistance here at September's high, which is currently testing right now, then you might find a little bit of resistance on Pingu, Bonk, and Fartcoin. But if Ethereum continues to be bullish, then I would want to be bullish this. My only concern is these two levels here. These could be really big resistance levels, as we discussed already. So as long as you can stay trading, as long as price is not trading under yesterday's open, right, then I would be looking for a buy the dip opportunity here. So here is the 30-minute chart on Pingu. Down here is the 100 exponential moving average. And we do have a 30-minute support zone right here. So in theory, as long as we're not closing 30-minute candles under this point, I could be a buyer. So we'll let Pingu pull back here off the bell if it wants to. And we'll see what happens to it when it gets down in this area. Now, we don't have our daily VWAP on this thing. Let's go ahead and put that on. Wait a minute. Where is it? Give me 1 second. Why can I not see it? What's going on here? Where is the VWAP? There it is. All right, so current intraday VWAP holding as resistance right here, right now. That's pretty good. So if it wicks down into this area, we would want to put maybe a buy limit down there, or just wait for price to get down there and enter on a limit. We'll see what happens. Fartcoin is starting to push pretty good now away from that resistance. You can see here on the 5-minute chart, it pushed up into that perfectly and rejected. This is typically what we do want to see at an objective level when we are looking for a reversal. Pingu looks a little bit stronger to me based on yesterday's closure. So yesterday's close, if we look at it, notice how yesterday you closed above the highest daily close. So this would be considered a breakout. And we did test the yearly open and closed under it. But if you fib this daily range, you're going to see that you closed well above the midpoint. So I like bullish continuation today. We're also trading above the 50 on the RSI. This, whatever this is another volatility indicator. It's the CCI. It's also structured looking good for bullish continuation. So that's what I'd be looking for intraday on Pingu. So we'll see if it can push down into here and give us an opportunity to get long. Now, if you look at Fartcoin on the 4-hour chart, you can see what it's doing here. This is not quite a bullish engulfing as it didn't take out the previous candle's high, but it is an absolute bullish candle as it did reverse off the lows and close strong. So buyers are going to be looking to buy the dip on this on Fartcoin as long as it can hold above this level right here, 0.7198. This is the range that price is trading in. If you go down to the small time frame, you can see that here. So basically, your last 4-hour swing low would have been right here. You got below that and then broke back above it. And now we're just basically chopping inside of this range. This would be that 4-hour wick low. So I wouldn't want to see price pushing below that if I was a buyer. I'm not a buyer on Fartcoin. I'm holding a short. So, but if I was going to be a buyer, that's what I would want to see today. Now, if we pull up the session volume profile, which just shows you where the majority of the volume is traded intraday, you can see that the value area, which is 70% of the volume traded today, is coming between 72.38 and 74.16, and then the point of control right here. So this, if it comes down here and holds support here, that would also give buyers a little bit of gusto to the upside if it was able to break back up and through here, because you've got all these stops, right? Everybody that's been shorting this, and a lot of people have been shorting it based on what the volume delta is telling us, right? So there is a lot more selling taking place here than buying. So if it fails to roll over fairly early on here, buyers will jump onto it. So I'm going to set an alert on Pingu down here. So that way, if it does push into this area, it'll alert me if I'm looking at a different chart. Good morning, Drew Detman. Good morning, Paper Wiggerman. What's up? Wiggleman. Sorry. The Agile Leader. Wes, did your Euro USD stop get triggered? Absolutely did. Yes, it did. EPT is just a big one that's been rocking and rolling for the last couple of days, but let's go pull up Euro USD. Yeah, if you remember, Wes, when I put that trade on, my stop was setting right here. So, yeah, it pushed up, stopped me out right there. In hindsight, obviously, the 4-hour supply zone there would have been the best entry, obviously, right? Based on the moving average structure and all that. So by me entering the short right here, putting the stop up there, was just a rushed move. I put that on at roughly 9:30. After 9:30, so we pretty much thought the upside move was done. So I put it on in here. and then it just went up, stopped me out, and then essentially rolled over. So directional bias was correct. Trade was not. Trade was not. Stop wasn't wide enough. And it was like a 25 or 30 pip stop. So just really, really bad positioning on my part. I literally should have looked at the chart a little bit better. Realized that 21, where that 21 4-hour was. You know what I mean? Because by me putting on the trade here, that's a little bit extended. What is going on here? Thank you. So if I would have just focused, I have no clue what's going on here. I ran internet speed tests and all that before I got live, and everything was going just fine. So I don't know if this is a platform issue or what. But anyway, so putting on the short here, I should have paid attention to where that 21 exponential was. Oh, I turned off the wrong indicator. Okay, so alert on Pingu, it's already hitting our level. Let's go look at that. We'll talk about this in a minute. Okay, so a lot of momentum coming in here. This is where we would want to see that support hold, if it's going to hold. Yeah, internet is more than good. I typically don't like to buy with this much downside momentum, so I might give it a few minutes just to see before I was putting that long on. This is a really good reaction from the VWAP, so it does look as if though the resistance level is holding and shorts are winning the very beginning of the New York session. Hopefully it works out good with our fart short as well. As you can see, we traded right down to that 4-hour candle open. This is where people will be paying attention. If Fartcoin fails to put in downside continuation from this point, buyers will jump onto it. You got sort of the same thing going here, but we used a 30-minute swing low instead of the 4-hour. Since the 4-hour is here, I would say I would rather see a test of that instead, just because it's just right there. So right here. No. Why isn't that on? It should be on the correct time. Yeah, it's definitely the 4 o'clock. So it's going to be from here. Right there's your open. So yeah, same scenario here. If it fails to put in downside continuation, right? Whether you're watching the 1 minute, 5 minute, 30 second, 10 second, I don't know what your favorite time frame is to look at. To me, it doesn't matter. I look at 4-hour charts. That's all I look at. I make my trading decisions based on that. But if you like to look at 1 minute candles chop sideways, then 1 minute charts are good. Speed is fine on my end. Yeah, it's good on me too. I've already looked at, we're dropping 0 frames. Everything is going nice and smooth on my end. It's just the platform, I believe. Can we check SEI 2-3 month outlook on the daily chart? Absolutely. Let me pull that up over here while we're waiting. I'm not going to look at it just right this second because we are literally testing that 4-hour zone right now. See that? And you're seeing some downside continuation here. And we're also seeing that downside continuation on Fartcoin as well. So we did take out the previous 4-hour candle swing high on Fartcoin. If we do break down and take this low out, that will be a bearish engulfing if it can close under that. You can see on your RSI here on the 4-hour, you're still well above the 50. So even though you're pulling back here, this would still be considered a bullish pullback, not a bearish breakdown until you break under the 50 on the RSI. But there's that short trade open there, and then here's the long trade open on Bonk. And you can see I'm only using very little money here, even though I have lots of money. I like to use heavy leverage instead of lots of money. Heavy leverage instead of lots of money. It allows me to jump in, jump out, and then if we get a decent little move in the direction, I can make $200-300 every single day consistently with a very small amount of money. That's decent for any trader to make consistently, but obviously this strategy can be scaled up much larger. Yeah, on the speed test, we're doing almost 300 megabytes per second download speed and over 10 on the upload speed. So should be just fine to hold a live stream. So it's got to be the platform. Okay, so now since we've broken under that level here with downside continuation, right? We got to see, does this thing want to push on and to make fresh day lows, or does it reverse here? Your fresh day low would be right here. But this is a break. This is downside continuation. Once you start making lower closes, you're pushing lower. You don't want to jump on longs when that is occurring, because you're buying into downside momentum. As far as news goes, the government is shut down as far as I'm aware. So we're not going, they still owe us a non-farm payroll print, and a lot of other news I'm sure is being missed this week. We try to avoid the news as the news just muddles up daily biases. But we are seeing things pull back. So I'm assuming Bitcoin's pulling back here as it is. I still have a very bullish bias. As long as we're trading above this October VWAP, I will have a bullish bias on Bitcoin. Same goes for Ethereum. Pulling back, as long as the midpoint stays intact here, it's still just a bullish pullback. Today's actually bearish on Bitcoin. So today looks a little bit different than Ethereum does. As yesterday, when we did make a fresh all-time high, we closed pretty close to the midpoint. So that kind of says, not as strong as I would want it to be. Notice how it closed like right on that midpoint. So that literally meant going into today, when this day opened, traders had a mixed bias. Strength, but weakness, but not quite bearish, right? So I think today's main price to focus on Bitcoin would be yesterday's open. I wouldn't want to see prices breaking away from that point, putting in lower lows and lower closes. If that happens, then a deeper correction may be on the way. So right here is yesterday's open. That's about as low as I would want to see it go to be able to maintain that bullish pressure. Okay, so there's the bonk. Trading well under yesterday's midpoint. I do not love that. Flat out rejection here at the 21 exponential on the daily time frame. I do not love that. And well under the 100 EMA. I do not love that. A lot of stuff here I don't like on the near term. Let's see what bonk has done to its moving average structure on the 5 minute. So, yeah, it's basically turned it bearish. Whenever your 50 crosses your 200, that's considered a death cross. We haven't quite done that yet. I know it's a little bit ugly here because I've got on this green line, which is the VWAP, but right there's your 200, down here is your 50. So you've gotten the death cross right here on an intraday basis on your 5 minute chart. That kind of helps people take shorts over here because the day's order flow is already bearish, right? It's already structured bearishly. That just helps people throw on short trades at these objective levels that we focus on. That's kind of another reason why we were looking for the short on Farcoin. So we're not losing money on the bonk long, but we're not really making money on the Farcoin short either, if that makes sense. It's kind of like it's a mitigated position, if you will. We just want to control what we lose. That's all we can control. We can't really control anything outside of that. So if we do a good job on controlling how much money we lose, then the winning will take care of itself. All right. So our lift trade that we took many days ago, not really working out here. I want to keep that open. Let's go over here. We'll take this one. So basically, lift has been consolidating since it broke out here for a long time. So I would love to see this thing actually hold support and take off to the upside. If we close today under this daily close, then I will exit that long position and wait for it to find support lower, as it may be wanting to fill this gap, as there's a clear unfilled gap right there. So if that takes place, then I don't want to be setting in the long and setting in all that downside when there's no point in doing that. I can always go right back and buy lift again if it does fill this gap and form a support. Because lift it was starting to break out here. As you can see right here, had a very nice expansion in September, breaking out of a multi-year range. So this is why we're seeing that consolidation. People are literally buying that point, looking for upside continuation. So this is going to be my line in the sand, if you will. Today closes under this point. We'll let it go. We'll take a very, very small loss. If it closes above, we'll hang on to it still, because we did enter it up in here. So it was also another kind of bad place to look for bullish entries. We should have gave it more time, but this is a good and very constructive looking chart. I still like it to the upside. Yeah, it still looks very good, very constructive. So maybe it wants to put in a bear trap under the 21 or something like that before it takes off to the upside. If it's going to take off to the upside. So we've already hit basically downside targets on Farcoin. So if you took the Farcoin short up there, I wish that you would go ahead and take profits just in case it finds support here and rips back in your face, which it absolutely could. You also made a fresh daily low right there. So it does look good for the downside trade, as you have made a lower daily high and a lower daily low. So the daily order flow looks really good for downside continuation, but we never plan for continuation. We always aim for a specific target. When that target, once that objective is met, we take our profits, we move our stops. That way. But anyways, Fartcoin has hit downside targets. Let's see if if Pingu can hold support here. Remember, we want to see if it can hold support right under this level. We don't want to see it break down through here. So even though it has busted through our level, that's okay. If it can build in support just under the level, that's also very nice. Consistent with buyers stepping up, buying the dip. And I did not look at the VIX this morning. The VIX is gapping down, or not gapping down from yesterday's close. I'm sorry, I said that completely wrong. I just meant the VIX is down. So yesterday we gapped up, we pushed up, and then closed under daily res. And now today we gapped up, pushed up to yesterday's open, and so far have sold off. This is a bullish look. Couple that with the bullish, very weak yen that supports a bullish market here. So any pullback could be looked at as a buying opportunity. And we never know when the buyers are going to show up. We just look for areas where they could. We don't need to watch the 30-second chart. We'll just keep an eye on the 1 minute. As it is building in a support here, we want to see if that support holds. So like if you see it just chopping around back and forth in this area like this, that could be good. It's if we start to break through here and trend lower is when we're getting way too far away from the level at which we expect buyers to show up. Remember, we're looking for buyers to show up here. Because right now, the sellers, they think they have it in the bag. They think it's over, right? They're good. They're making money. They're high on life. They're loving it. But you're not really trending away from this level, are you? And if the sellers were really in control of this, it probably would be trending away from that level, wouldn't it? But it isn't. You're still just trading as an inside 4-hour candle. That simply means you are just chopping around in between the last 4-hour candles high and low. So you're not trending here on the 4-hour chart. If you're looking at this on the 1-minute chart, to you, it looks like Pingu has literally dumped. It has given up the ghost. This thing is dead. It's going to zero, right? But to us, we see this as nothing burger yet. You're not trending. You're literally sideways, chopping inside of the last 4-hour candles range. It's once we get below this point is when the buyers will give it up, right? They'll be like, too weak for me. But as long as it stays inside of this, still a very, very, very decent buy zone. But we can watch the smaller time frame charts to kind of give us, it doesn't really give us that much of an edge. It'll just show us if it's starting to trend quicker, right? As you'll start to see those closes happen under the lowest close, which is right now, right here. So you're kind of like, you can't close higher than that, and you can't close lower than this. So you're literally in a range here. Very tight, confined range. But because you're not closing lower than this point, could indicate that the buyers are jumping in here. I'm not going to buy this because I already have on the long Pingu. So I'm pretty much already in this position. But as long as you're not closing under this point, you could absolutely mitigate risk here. So in a sense, you could put on a long and put a very tight, very cheap stop loss under it right here. I say very tight and very cheap because, yeah, we don't know what price is going to do. It would be nice if we did. We just don't. And then a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you would get that and you wouldn't even need to get back to the VWAP. You see what I mean? Like very, very, very decent trade. It's well within Pingu's price action to go that far. You know what I mean? So very easy, very simple little scalp here you could take if you wanted to. Bitcoin is bouncing off of the open of yesterday, which is what we wanted to see. Let's go ahead and delineate what that line is so that way we don't forget later. And then yesterday's low comes in just under the July high. Doesn't matter long term. It only matters today as far as I'm concerned. It only matters for today. As if we break under that, you might have a hard time getting any day traders to jump on the Bitcoin train today. But if it can stay above that, yeah, we could absolutely see him jump on it. All right, since we looked at the ETF inflows and we've been seeing this number go up almost every single day, which is suggestive that people are buying, we can go look at, well, fear and greed. Let's see where stock market is still on 50. In all the years I've been doing this, I very rarely ever see a bear market start at a 50 on the fear and greed. Crypto's a little bit more overdone here at 64, but once again, usually you start to see significant pullbacks happen in the 90s, not in the 60s. So we're in really good shape on the fear and greed index to see upside break and upside continuation. Here's Bitcoin's heat map. We like to look out about a month. This just shows you where hypothetical liquidity could be setting. It's not actual liquidity. It's hypothetical. I mean, in a sense, guys, liquidity is setting above every single swing high and below every single swing low. You don't need this indicator to show you that. You just know it's there, right? But looking at this hypothetical liquidity indicator, not a whole lot of liquidity. There's no white hot zones built in yet, just under us or above us. That's simply because we just absolutely took off to the upside and didn't really give anybody a chance to get in. Now, I'd love to see that trend continue up to like 130, 135-ish. We'll see what it does. It could pull back. 7 days of upside in a row is, pretty extended. Let's go look at the liquidation map alone here. Let's get out of the day. Let's go 30-day. So, yeah, I mean, tons of stuff for the sellers to look at and target. Clearly, it's skewed heavily to the sell side. But we do have a little bit of liquidity up around the 126, 128-ish area. Not a lot. Most of the liquidity is to the downside here. But it's just hypothetical liquidity. Okay, there goes Bonk, starting to trend. Same goes with Pingu. Pingu isn't quite trending yet, but it's starting to. The VIX is bouncing up off the daily lows. So I don't really like that. Don't really like that at all. I don't like that the VIX has been building up here above the 1580 spot, like for the last several days. So it does look as if though people are hedging and hedging heavily. So it could be getting ready to have a pretty decent upside spike here. We have to keep that in mind. But I would love to see this thing give up the ghost today or tomorrow and start to head back down towards this gap. Gold also opening up at all-time highs again today, or at least GLD did. Oh my gosh, man. Gold has just been an absolute freaking monster, literally destroying the shorts. This is going to pull back eventually, but someday. And then here Pingu goes as it's making a fresh low down here. Now, I don't want to see it start to get that far away from this level. The further it goes away from the level, the least likely the buyers will step up. So it is looking like we're going to see a pullback today. Being Tuesday, is it possible that we've set the weekly high for these things? It's possible. Anything is possible. Did we take out last week's high? 34,040. 34,040. So it's an exact tick. An exact tick of last week's high. That, my friends, is a picture perfect double top. If we stay trading above the weekly open today, I would have an upside target of 34,040. But weekly open down here, since it's so close to that day low, let's just go ahead and mark that as it's a bigger level and a much more important level going on throughout the week. As if we're trading under that, then the bears will have gained or regained control of the weekly time frame. As you can see, we are still trading in this big downside weekly candles range. That doesn't look great. That doesn't look great. But I still have to give it to the bulls just based on where the daily 21 and weekly 21 exponentials are. So this could be like the best place to watch it later on. I wouldn't take more than a couple shots at it, but that week open's going to be a big level for Pingu. Big level. For this week, the rest of this week. All right, let's go look at SEI real quick. Oh, SEI looks very constructive here. It's going to be in a multi-month range. It's obviously rejecting the yearly open range the first time you got back up there. You're still trading above July's close, which is kind of important, as that's going to be your monthly resistance. So you would want to see this thing be able to hold up here. And you're coming into it today. So basically, I would be okay with it trading below it today, but I would not be okay with it if it closed below that price. If you close below this level today on SEI, you have to be very careful buying it, because this bullish breakout candle here could be a bull trap. So basically, if you're watching this to be a buyer, you need to watch what it does today. Today is going to be brutally important for SEI. This is a lower low, and this is a lower high. So sellers are jumping on it, expecting yesterday to be a trap. And it's not looking great. Bitcoin just took out yesterday's low. Boom. So let's see if that ends up becoming a liquidation break, where you liquidate the previous day's range and then you go right back up into the range, or do we see downside continuation from here today? That wouldn't be great. Wouldn't be the end of the uptrend, but still not great. We want to see ranges accumulate on higher prices, as that suggests demand is creeping up higher and higher. But Bitcoin all year has literally made fresh all-time highs and then rolled over. So a lot of people are looking for that trend to continue. Like I said earlier on the stream, you do have a 3-drive topping formation on Bitcoin right now, a selling pattern. If you are a pattern trader, you would have a massive sell-side bias with this. Another name for this pattern would be a Wyckoff distribution formation, 3-drive topping formation. There's a bunch of different names for it, but it's all the same thing, right? It cannot get bullish continuation or bullish momentum above the previous high. And that's not great. So I would love to see Bitcoin break that cycle or break that pattern, as it has not been able to do that all year long, though. And now it's starting to actually get a little bit of gusto here. Starting to see some momentum. Yeah, Fartcoin is breaking down, so that's good. It's a good thing we caught that, huh? Or I caught that. Don't really need that anymore, as it's done its job. But this is typically how when we take shorts, this is the price action we want to see, right? You want to see that structure break down rather quickly. And then when it does get to a major level, like the weekly volume weighted average price, you don't want to see much time spent wiggling there, right? This would be just a wiggle of price. It took 20 minutes while it wiggled its way around this level and then broke down. That is more typical of a weaker market. And just for anybody, I just want to show you guys, like, I posted this much earlier. Right here, you can see what time I posted this. So I'll bring it back down here. Looks like a short. The weekly VWAP says it might find support, but it looks like a sell based on cumulative volume delta. I mean, look at that. This is just the range of the day. So that's your opening price of the daily candle right there. So this was our target down here since 7 o'clock. So we've been looking for this trade to happen since 7 o'clock. It's not something that I just pulled out of my tail. Yeah, this is getting a little bit of downside momentum now. So we'll see what happens today. But yeah, SEI, be careful, Madge, because if Bitcoin does roll over today and experience a significant downside move, I'm assuming most of your alts are going to follow. If Ethereum does the same thing, Ethereum still looks constructive here, very constructive on the daily range. So even though Bitcoin looks a little bit, wary, Ethereum still looks really good. Now, could that mean it just hasn't broke down yet? Of course. All right. Of course it could. We look at, let's see. Let's pull up cumulative volume delta on this and just see what it looked like before we came into the session. All right. So it looked a little weak as well. Let me get it on the day open. Right there. So let's stretch them out. All right, so here's your day open, close enough. You can see that even through Asia last night, cumulative volume delta was suggesting that even though, prices were bullish the day prior, it did look like the sellers were in control. Right through here, you had a little spike up, setting a fresh daily high, rotating back to the downside, tagging support. But the meantime, the cumulative volume delta stayed below the zero line. So even though you did see a little bit of bullish momentum and bullish volume here, that was quickly met by the sellers. Boom, boom, boom. So it is starting to break down. And with this signature, it does look like you could see downside continuation. So right here is going to be your daily low on Ethereum. If you get under that and start to push deeper, you could be expecting a retest of the VWAP of October. Let's go ahead and make sure that VWAP is in the right place. Yes, it is. So here's the last week's VWAP. Oh, damn it. We need to put this on Monday's open, as that's this week's VWAP. We're testing that now. Your October VWAP is going to be down lower than yesterday's open. So if Ethereum breaks down and gets downside continuation and swallows up this entire day's range, yesterday's range, that would not look good at all. So I would love to see support come in here for Ethereum. Even down here, if support could build in down here today and hold for a couple hours and start to trade back to the upside, I would also think that is constructive. So we've liquidated yesterday's low. We've closed the 5-minute candle under it with Bitcoin. We'll see if it wants to continue that move or not. We're not really seeing a heavy pullback on risk markets. Here's your ES futures right here, basically testing the day open. The S&P 500 cash market, the SPX, is up here. You can see it's a very, very small range day. Did make a new all-time high today, though. So it is pulling back. Volatility is still pushing on the lows. So it's not over for Bitcoin today. Bitcoin could literally reverse from here. But yeah, be careful with SEI. I think today's Bitcoin price action and Ethereum price action will have a lot to say about what happens to that. Now, Wes, to go back and answer your question on the Euro USD short yesterday, yeah, when I took the short, I should have realized how far away it was from the 21 exponential and waited for it to see. Just wait to see if it wants to push higher, and if so, wait for that supply test. So going on in the future, that's something we might want to think about, right? Instead of just jumping onto the short. But yes, I did get stopped out of that trade. And it sucks because, as I said earlier, We had the right idea, just timing was way off. We should have waited for that and then got short. Now, I know that's in hindsight, and it's easy to say, well, how would you have known? Right? How would you have known that it was even going back up there? Well, I wouldn't have known that it was going back up there. But what we could have done simply is watch the smaller time frames, like the 15-minute or 30-minute, and see if we're continuing to push up and close higher. Right? So if we shorted here, these 3 candles would have been a very big indication that we might want to get out and wait for it to see what happens, to see if it goes back up and tests that level, which it did right there. So the best trade would have been to enter here and then throw on that stop. Now, that is cherry picked in hindsight, but still, that's just my bad, right? It's just, I sometimes occasionally take bad entries as well. I'm human. I am human. But yeah, I do still kind of like euro dollar lower. It does not go with the dollar lower thesis, and rate cuts is typically looked at as bearish for the US dollar. But you are building in a rising wedge here, and rising wedges, as far as patterns go, are typically looked at for bearish breakdown potential. So it does look like it is sort of putting in a top up here. So right direction, just early on the trade. So now what we got to do is we got to wait for the breakdown to actually occur, allow a dead cat bounce to take place, and then look for that short side positioning then. But we're not done with the euro. We will catch it. We will catch it. You cannot run, euro. We will find you. It can run, but it won't be able to hide. All right, so Pingu's testing the weekly open. We definitely want, if we have a bullish bias on Pingu, we would definitely want to see this area act as support. Your daily 21 exponential is also coming back into play here as well. So you've got 2 confluence areas here for a potential support build. USAR still going crazy, says Drew Dickman. I do not know what USAR is. Rare earth materials. If that's what this is, I have another stock that you can also watch. Let me find it. TMC. Here it is. This is another company. It's a Canadian company, but they have a huge boat and a machine that literally sucks the bottom of the ocean, and there's little metal balls down there. Little metal balls, and those balls of metal are absolutely full of those rare earth minerals. Now, scientists are doing a lot of stuff to decide whether or not it's safe for us to even take those rare earth metals off of the bottom of the ocean. We want to make sure that it's not going to cause chaos and destruction of the planet. But at this point, this company is ready to go, and it has been ready to go for a long time. You can basically see since 2025 opened up, this year has been extra bullish for this stock. I do not want you to buy it up here. I want you to wait for periods of consolidation before you look to take entries. Here's a period of consolidation. Give it time to build in support, right? Then you can look to be a buyer at support levels. But it is one to throw on your watch list if you are going to trade rare earth metals. Now, this company isn't the only company that is setting down there in their large vessel, waiting for the countries or the governments to say, okay, go ahead, mine it. There are a lot of other boats also positioned to do the same thing. Some countries, China, US, all, like, everybody's getting prepared, because as soon as they start mining, it's going to be over quickly. All right? Because, yeah, unless someone comes out with some big, massive breakthrough that says you guys should really not mine those little metal balls because they are a massively important aspect of that ecosystem, they're going to take them all. So this is another ticker that you can watch to potentially make money on that trade, if you will. But going back to USAR, yeah, it looks really good. Obviously, the time to buy it was when it was building in support. It built in support at 1380, around the 50 EMA. I would have rather waited for this to happen first, right? Show me the bear trap, then gap up back above that 21. That would have been the day to be a buyer. Fitting our strategy, right? What we typically look for when we're looking to buy. We would have waited for this day. And on this day, we would have been buyers. Right? Because you set the trap. You even took out support. Broke and closed below the 50. And then the very next day gapped up. So anybody that sold this day was stuck. And that helped propel that bullish rip. So this would have been the best day to be a buyer here. But yeah, if you're in it long, I see no reason to get out of it. It's literally ripping up into fresh all-time high territory. So who knows where this thing's going to stop. But I wouldn't participate in it today. I wouldn't be a buyer today. I wouldn't be buying the highs. Wait for the gap to fill maybe. Wait for a period of consolidation. Then attack it. Looks good. Looks very constructive. It's definitely setting higher highs and higher lows. And that's what we look for in a trend following strategy. Good looking chart. Good find, man. Good find. You don't check volume much. I don't look at volume at all. Not volume by time. I only care about volume by price. And that, of course, will be your session volume profile. Because I'm a day trader, I am really only focused on where those levels are of importance throughout the daily ranges. Yeah, I very rarely will I ever look at volume by time. To me, it doesn't give me an edge. Now, there are strategies that you can use to use volume by time to help you look for breakouts and whatnot. There are several strategies. I know about them. I've used them. But yeah, for day trading, volume by time really does nothing for me. Yeah, I miss the Bitcoin of old as well, Phoenix team, because the Bitcoin of old used to rally 1,000% in just a couple days. Me too. Yeah. It would be fantastic to get 1,000% rally back on Bitcoin. I hear you. And I'm on that boat. I'm on that AMD rocket. Let's go look. Excuse me. Yeah. Wow. What happened? News? Was it news? Shoot. Sorry. Let's see. We're looking for yesterday, or they must have signed a big deal or something with another big company. I seen TSMC in there, so yeah, there was probably some news here, and it is mooning. You are almost up at you are up at fresh all-time highs. That is a phenomenal looking monthly candle. A little bit extended, obviously. But yeah, it looked really good. See, this is the absolute beautiful consolidation right here. Absolutely phenomenal. Look at this close, this breakdown under the 50 here. Beautiful. And it gapped right back up above it. Yeah, this is absolute phenomenal price action. We probably would have tried to get involved right in here. You know, just looking at the chart, going by my rules for trend following strategies, we would have been looking to participate in a long here, as it did look like it was getting ready to break out. And it did break out. It looks really, really good. If you own it, you're holding it, and you bought it down in here, good stuff. Good stuff, man. That's a huge rip. You went from $159 to yesterday's open up at $225. Phenomenal. 41% return. Just fantastic stuff. Yeah, give this time to find. It's in price discovery right now. You're going to have to give it a little bit of time to find the support. You did not liquidate the all-time high, so the bulls could literally be looking for momentum scalps here, targeting that. But yeah, all of that happened post-market or pre-market. That sucks. That always sucks. It would have been very nice to have been in it, though, multiple days in advance. Yeah, it looks really good. Even today, I mean, right now, it looks, I mean, it's holding the open. Well, right here's the open. Sorry, my eyes didn't see that, but there's your 930 open. So it's just under the open. It's on the daily lows, but I mean, yeah, looking at post and pre-market data, it looks really good. Let's turn extended hours off for a second here. Yeah, basically, if you can hold today, if you could bounce like off the 202, 204 area, you might see a rally from that point. If you start trading under 203, be very careful, because you've got a massive gap down here to fill. Gaps do not have to fill, but they typically do. So I could buy this for like a momentum scalp play only if it's holding support above 203, because under that, it's threatening a run much deeper. Good stuff. Madge with the $15 super chat. Thank you so much, Madge. I appreciate that. Let me see here. Right doesn't always mean profitable. That's what Wes says, and I have to concur. It does not. Pingu actually pushing lower, trying to push lower than that weekly open. I would love to see it be able to hold this area if it's going to remain to be bullish this week. This is definitely a huge area of confluence, big line in the sand for this asset. Our fart coin short looking good. It's getting closer and closer to that October VWAP. But definitely targets, profit targets hit. No problems there. Bitcoin also trying to push on daily lows. Be careful if you're trying to buy day lows here, because you could literally make a fresh daily low every 20 or 15, 20 minutes until afternoon or something. It's just very dangerous way of trading. I would rather mitigate that by using an actual, like, I don't know, maybe if it can get back above yesterday's low and hold that price as support, then I could potentially get on that train. I own Bitcoin in cold storage, so obviously anytime it's springing up above all-time highs, I love it. I wish it would break out and just go. That would be phenomenal. A lot of people own Bitcoin. A lot of people want to see it go. Today's problem is the VIX and the S&P's pulling back pretty hard. So it's causing Bitcoin to pull back a little bit too. Like I said, 7 straight days of upside on Bitcoin. October opened, you've had a bullish day every day since. Well, it makes sense that we get a couple bearish days. Your long USAR from 14.9. That's a good place to be long. Nice. So they bought right in here. Good stuff. And then Drew Dickman says ARRNF is another rare earth one that did well. ARRNF. American Rare Earths. This one has some volatility to it. It's a penny stock. But yeah, it looks like it's building in support here. This is what you want to look for. Now with this one's a little bit more difficult because the spans of that support building can be forever. I mean, if I would have bought this over in here or here, I would have gotten out of that because just the sheer amount of time that took place, right? Like that's almost a year. But it did break out and it is building in another support zone. So clean support looks like it's going to be about 2202. If you look here, you notice not really been able to close a daily candle under that price, even though you traded under it. Oh wait, you closed 2 dailies right there under it. My bad. But you get what I'm saying. Since then, so this would be the first area that I would be interested in being a buyer on ARRNF. $22 or 22 pennies. If it can hold 22 pennies, then yeah, I might be interested in getting involved in this. Just because it's an American Rare Earths company. It's OTC, it's a penny stock. Could be garbage. Let's go see if it has any short. Let's see. Seeing how it's got 5 letters in the ticker. Might not pull it up. I might be wrong with that. ARRNF. No, I got it right. They're not gonna find it because it's OTC. But if you could somehow find what the short float is on that, if it's above 22 or 20%, this would be something that I would really be interested in, because a 20% short float is a big short float. I doubt it's going to have that large of a short float just based on how cheap the stock is. All right, money managers are not going to be involved in this. The only people that own this are insiders, company employees and whatnot. Because anything under $5, big investment firms are not going to be able to hang on to this. S&P's coming off pretty hard now. Take a look at the S&P futures here. Coming off pretty hard. Trying to break under the weekly VWAP. Now, it has done that already this week. But I do not like the fact that it went straight up, broke out of an all-time high, and then reversed so hard. Typically does smell like a rejection. Bitcoin's also seeing downside continuation beyond yesterday's low. If Bitcoin keeps this kind of bearish momentum all day, this thing's going to be a pretty significant drop in price. What do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. Right here, So if it keeps this momentum, you could see a daily close like down in here. And that would look a little bit rough. So you're already red on the week here. Not looking good. But a midpoint check of last week's range would be okay. And still okay for bullish continuation. Maybe not for this week, but for next week, right? What we don't want to see is this week give all of this back. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. We'll see what it does. We'll see what it does. I've been long NB since $3. What is NB? Neocorp. Oh, that's that. Yeah. This company actually mines that. I can't say that word. Neobium or whatever. That metal that makes the badass magnets and a bunch of other stuff. Wes says he's been long since $3. Fantastic stuff, Wes. Another 300% return, my man. Looking good, looking good. Same scenario. I see no reason to get out of it just yet. Now, I will say this. You are coming into a potential monthly resistance here. So this run may be done. 4 bullish months in a row. So you could see it go into a period of consolidation up here. In my opinion, as long as it stays above 672, I think it would be okay. That's a significant cut of profits there. Yeah, man, it's just been on fire all month. Yeah, it looks really good. Good stuff, Wes. Good stuff. Yes, news. AI, says Johnny Utah. I'm assuming he's referring to AMD's absolute explosion in price. Good stuff. And then Wes says MB is a rare earth mining company. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that metal, but neobium or something like that. Those little shiny silver magnets that are absolutely impossible to pry apart. Fantastic magnets. Good company there. Pingu back breaking under that. 21 exponential, and there goes Fartcoin. That was an absolute flawless short on Fartcoin. Can't complain. So right here, we're up $300 on that trade. Doing pretty good, pretty good. Very little capital used. You can see the ROI, the return on investment, almost 150%. Not bad. Strategy is 100% scalable. Absolutely. Looking good. I gotta make sure that I have that stop on that bonk. Of course, I'm gonna set the stop to 0%. There will be no point in holding that if it does break down below the open of the week. So here's bonk. Looking rough. You can see we're getting ready to test the weekly open. So on so many of these things, I mean, it's because today's Tuesday. You had a bullish expansion yesterday, and today you're giving it back. So that's why I haven't had enough time this week to really do anything. But here's the thing, like if we make a fresh weekly low, see, I won't like that with bonk because of this structure. Yesterday was a fresh breakout. I never like to see fresh breakouts give it all back. because it smells like a rejection. You rejected the September open, the weekly 21 exponential moving average, and September's volume weighted average price. So a lot of confluence for resistance here. Just really wanted to see it break out above that, and it failed to do so. So not looking great. It's right back in all of this consolidation down here. Hopefully it can hold moving forward, but it looks really, really bad. So Pingu, you're red on the week here. Let me get that on there, and then maybe I can find that. Nope, it's doing the same thing. Fresh weekly lows. That would have been your weekly low right there. Here, let's go. No, that's not. Let's see. Oh, no way. Your weekly low is down here. Where's 2000 hours? Right there. So that's the weekly open. There's your weekly low. There. That looks better. All right, so if it keeps pushing all day today, this will be the target. Damn. So the only way I would want to be a buyer this week on Pingu is if it flat out rejects lower prices than that. To be honest with you, I don't even want to see it go down there. I want to see it build in support here. I rarely get what I want, though. Rarely. Yep, there you go. King Money says neodymium magnets. What's up, King Money? How you doing, my friend? And then a bunch of people telling me niobium. I don't know how to pronounce it. Niobium. Fantastic magnets. I use them for fridge magnets. I ordered a bunch of them off of Amazon. They are great magnets. I dare you to try to pull two apart. Break your fingers. They are strong, dude. Use them for bag clips. You can use them for so much stuff. Looks like Aussie Yen getting same or some continuation. I haven't looked at Aussie Yen this week. Let's go see what it's doing here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that election really, they decimated the yen. Decimated the yen. See, that's what I mean. I love the yen selling off like that for bullish continuation of these markets. By us getting short or getting long, we were actually getting short for the dollar, not so much for yen strength. But if yen strength did occur, you would want to be positioned to catch that. So it was a good trade. It just ended up not working, as so many trades do. But yeah, it is going crazy up here. These are pretty expensive prices for Aussie yen. Pretty expensive. If you look at this on the yearly, like, yeah, so many years you've traded up into these prices and basically always rejected. So here was a period where it took 3 years to literally reject 97 cents. So it is the high year close, but that's just with forex.com. If you can find maybe like FXCM has more data, yeah, it does. Yeah, FXCM has a lot more data here, but very big area here. If it could break out and get upside continuation, this thing could go much higher. Very, very gigantic range. So going back to Forex.com, it's kind of a very important level here. You're trading above the yearly high. You got a long ways to go to get to 2024's high. Long way to go. So yeah, I mean, it looks really good. Finally, some bullish continuation. We were watching this thing, just seemed like it was chopping back and forth forever. I don't think I would want to be a seller on that. Not yet. Not yet at all. Fartcoin struggling here to break down below the October volume weighted average price. Dow did not make all-time highs. Let's go see. This is not. Let me pull up my index watch list. Here we go. DJI. Looks like it made all-time highs to me. If you're looking at DOW, that's not the right ticker. That's the company. It's a DOW. I think they're like but you're probably not looking at that. Let me look at, here's NDQ. So this would be, and then NDX is similar to SPX. And that's definitely trading way up on highs. Yeah, DJI, or you can pull up US 30. That's another way to look at the Dow Jones. No, that's NASDAQ, ain't it? Dow Jones. Okay, so it is. The US 100 is the NASDAQ, and then this is the Dow Jones. So maybe Forex.com. Yeah, I don't know, Wes. It's trading up at highs, bro. What ticker are you looking at? Yeah, I mean, you're trading at 46.6. DJI is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. DJI. You're trading up on highs, my man. I got partial on a break even. YM ticker. Okay, YM. That's futures, my friend. Right? Yeah, that's going to be your futures. Even it's showing. This is the $5 futures. Even it's showing a fresh all-time high. Oh, I don't know. I tried typing in just YM and it's pulling up the YM1 exclamation point. I've never traded Dow in my life. Never. I've never opened not one position on the Dow Jones. I've always only traded ES micros, and NQ and NQ micros. Never traded the Dow. I like trading the Russell. I've traded it. Where is it? I don't want the IWM. I actually want RTY and RUT. Traded these, but let's pull up the IWM. It's looking good. Looking good. It's trying to break out. Fresh all-time high territory. If this could break out, that would do so much to help risk markets continue up on highs. It would help so much. Looks good. A little bit of a pullback happening. That's okay. You got to have dips to be able to buy them. I mean, if you look at the SPX cash market, you're nowhere. You're unchanged on the week. Where's the cash market, dude? Oh, SPCFD. What is that? No. The cash market. That's literally this thing. But let me pull it up on this chart right here. This chart right here shows you the weekly expected ranges. I mean, it's pretty extended. You got all kinds of bearish divergence on this chart. Huge bearish divergence here. Of course, people are going to sell bearish div, right? They always do. I like looking for divergences on the weekly first, because once you get the divergence built on the weekly, you've had enough time to really, that's when sometimes you'll see the heavier sellers jump in on that. We don't have that yet. We don't have weekly divergence yet. We got daily divergence. Now, the thing about this indicator, if you're new to trading, the RSI, you're always going to get divergence. It's a mathematical certainty. The way the indicator is plotted, it will always eventually it'll always eventually get to that divergence. But people do love to trade diverging signals, for sure. I watched a video yesterday. Here, let me put this in the chat. Let me see if I can find it on my watch later. Yeah, right here. I've never seen this guy before, but he has a mathematical calculation for the MACD.
Has critical flaws that have been...
Sorry about that. Let me turn this back to normal. This guy has a fantastic mathematical equation that he put onto the MACD. It's a pretty good video. I mean, the style in which he does this format is fantastic. I watched the whole video. So I'm going to put this in the chat, so that way one of you coders out there can put this to work for us. I am not a coder. I know nothing about coding. I wish I did. I wish I had time to learn, but I don't. If you could watch that video, put that to work. We'll put that in a trading view indicator. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Apparently he's going to put it out, but I'm assuming there's going to be a fee associated with it. I want one of my people to put it out, or one of the coders inside my community, because we'll put it out as long as the person that codes it says it's okay, obviously, to put it out for free. I don't think anybody should have to pay for any indicator. I think that is so dumb. I mean, it's not dumb on the person that's paying's part. Indicators, none of them have a 100% hit rate. So how can you charge for that? You know what I mean? It is what it is. I would love to build it though, backtest it, because he apparently, if we can build it, we can backtest it, get the same results. It has a very, very, very big hit rate, because he goes in depth in that video and tells you exactly what he did and how they tested it. And using that, just coupled with a 200 exponential moving average on the daily time frame, if you use those two signals, it's crazy hit rate. but it's more for swing trading than you know what I mean, than it is for like day trading. But still, I like to check out indicators that, when combined with other indicators, have a high hit rate average, forward testing and back testing. We'll check it out. We'll see if he's being honest or not. But the video was fantastic. I liked it. Good stuff. For some reason, YouTube just throwed it in my feed and I checked it out. Good stuff. Did take out all-time high from last week. Have you ever looked at the Russell 2K chart compared to the Total 2 crypto chart? Very similar. No, but we can do that. Are you talking about the IWM or the actual Russell? Since you said the 2K chart, I'm assuming you mean the $2,000 product, which would be the RTY. And then you said compare that to Total 2. Got it. Let's check it out. No, I've never done this before. So we'll start with new price scale. Let's get rid of all those lines. We don't need them for this. Let's get rid of the indicators. We don't need them for this. And then let's turn this into a line chart. Yes, they do look very, very similar. All right, let's change this one's. What color? It doesn't matter, right? We'll just do white. Good. Yeah, it is. Very similar. There was a period of divergence here, but it still looks really good. So for anybody that doesn't know, the Total 2 is basically just the entire crypto market cap minus Bitcoin. So this one actually has Ethereum and everything else in it, just minus Bitcoin. So your lower caps. Yeah, it does look really good. So basically, if the Russell could break out, that would probably go a long way into helping Bitcoin and Ethereum break out. Or at least Ethereum. Yeah, it does look really, really good. It makes sense because in a risk-on environment, all of the stocks that make up the Russell 2000 index are considered mid-cap or higher risk assets. And crypto obviously is the highest risk when it comes to risk on, risk off, right? So it does make sense. But no, I've never noticed it. That's a good look. So it does make sense to me. Good stuff, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, if we could see the Russell breakout, that could be really, really helpful for crypto to ultimately break out. Because if we just go look at the Total 2 index, pull up the monthly. Let's get rid of this. You can see that you're so close to breaking out. Like so close. Looking at it on log, it's right there, man. So close. It's breaking out right now, though. So if we get rid of all these lines and just focus on that trend line, I tagged it from this high, the November high, November 2021, and then the December 2024 high. You've not been able to close a month above that. So, but since we're analyzing this on a monthly time frame, we just opened the month of October. So we still have 24 days on this monthly close. A lot can happen. A lot can happen. But I do love the fact that we're still trying to break out here 3 months later. So when it does, or if it finally does get that bullish momentum, you could see a pretty big monthly candle. It does look good and constructive. What I would not want to see is the total 2 breaking back under last month's low. Because if we do that, then you're no longer trending to the upside. You're actually trending lower. And that's not great. Especially after putting in a fresh high like that. Usually not the most bullish. Not the most bullish of signals, if you will. So I definitely want to see, even if we can't close above this trend line, I would love to see it stay above last month's low. As it could still be constructive and still be bought up. Now, this is just taking the market cap from all cryptos, so we would really need to see Ethereum and all the other cryptos have a pretty decisive run, right? To get this thing breaking out. But we'll see. I like the way everything is situated here with the macro and everything like that. The technicals look good for breakout potential. The macro suits a breakout. Everything looks really good. The one macro aspect that I do not love for the bullish breakout right now for cryptos is dollar strength. And dollar strength goes against the macro right now. Rate cuts is usually bearish for the dollar, but I want to refer you, when I say that, always refer back to Q4 2024, because that's when the Fed started cutting interest rates, was in Q4. And look at what the dollar did for Q4 2024. Right there is your Q4 2024 candle. So the entire quarter was just as bullish as it could be, even though we were going into a rate cutting regime. So this is the one macro aspect that could really hurt bullish crypto. But to be fair, it really hasn't. Like, it didn't really hurt it here. But hypothetically speaking, strong dollar typically not good for crypto. So right through here, you had a weak dollar and a weak total crypto market. So this would be like one of those outliers. And then kind of dollar trending lower here, you got really nothing. So to be fair, the weakened state of the dollar has helped it become bullish. If that dollar firms up really strong, that might cause the crypto market to suffer. It might not, because like I said, here's Q4 of the dollar, and look what happened to the crypto market in that time. So the last 2 months of Q4, the crypto market was extremely bullish, right alongside the dollar. So both of these scenarios, very strange. Very strange that you actually had confluence. So maybe if it gets strong and we see this get strong again, maybe the dollar strength would be helping. It's just, I mean, I don't think it's the end all be all or anything like that, but yeah. Kathy Wood seems to think she's a much more confident macro investor than I am. And she seems to think that high productivity in the US based on manufacturing, if that is like, if the high productivity comes from it being automated, from robots, that could cause a boom in the dollar based on that high productivity with light costs. Because robots, you know, the initial cost of buying and making those robots and implementing them would be expensive, but long-term capital growth would be intensive, as manufacturing wouldn't be, you know, siphoning all that money for labor. So that could in turn cause a dollar strength. And we want to be positioned for that. Either way, we want to be positioned. The technical reason, the macro says that we should be looking for shorts on the dollar. But as long as the dollar is pushing up for Q4, I want to have a bullish bias, because we did break down in Q3. The dollar did ultimately break down out of this formation. So on a technical basis, we should have seen downside continuation. We did not. So when what we want or what we expect to happen doesn't, then we have to be able to get on the opposite side of the trade. We can't let our macro bias keep us from generating revenues, right? We have to be able to change even when the market is doing something that we don't think it should be doing, right? So with that being said, while the dollar is making advances here, it could reject. You do have a ascending trend line coming back from 2011 right in here. The green dotted trend line is just the candlestick swing lows. The blue line is your weekly line chart swing lows. So you can see the blue line comes from the weekly swing low pivots, and then the green line comes from your weekly candlestick swing low pivots. So either way, we do have both of these trend lines here, and then you have a very near-term descending wedge forming on the dollar, and just like ascending wedges are typically looked for bearish breakdown potential, descending wedges are typically looked at for bullish breakout potential. And the dollar very, very much right here, to me, looks like you rejected July's lows, which you did, and you've seen upside strength since. So it does look like people are buying the dollar, even though they should be selling it. So we were trying to get positioned here, but we got stopped out. So maybe next time we could potentially get a position on it is if it does in fact make that breakout to the upside and then pull back and form a support zone at a higher low, then we could look to be a buyer there on the dollar to see if in fact it wants to go up there and liquidate August's highs. But if it breaks out of this wedge, it could just go up there so fast that we don't even get to participate in that rally, and that would suck. But if we did get up there, I would want to be a profit taker for sure, because a liquidation of August swing highs could bring in that more macro bearish response. Or this rally could just simply be a short covering rally. Imagine if you shorted it here and you got your target, right? If you shorted it up here, this would have been your downside target. You would have been looking for that short. This would have been your primary target, secondary target, more than likely. And that's exactly what we've seen when we finally broke down. It just literally reversed right there. Boom. So it almost seems as if, though, when that happened, it literally fired all those profit-taking algos, and now you're seeing that rally take place. So I don't want to get uber long the dollar or anything like that, but clearly the short isn't here yet. If it is even going to be a short, we don't know. We got time, though, for sure. Yeah, fresh weekly highs is better than all-time highs. It definitely made fresh all-time highs. Many times this year, it made fresh all-time highs. Russell, scroll out 2 weeks. All right, Madge, have a good one. Yeah, I mean, targets were hit here on the Fartcoin short. We're pretty much done for the day. Now we just sit back and watch what these things do later on. Let me see. Johnny Utah says Russell. Okay, I was on the Russell. So the RTY, right? That is the E-mini Russell index. And you said scroll out 2 weeks. 2-week chart, maybe? And scroll out. And I'm sure you want me to put the total back on, maybe? I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. I'm trying to get it. Compare the total to. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely... It definitely looks the same. I see it. It has pretty much been a very good indicator for crypto markets since 2020. I completely agree. Yeah, so a breakout on the Russell would be great. It's working on, I mean, technically speaking, it has broken out, right? It already has. So this was the old all-time high. Then you made a fresh all-time here, but you rejected. So now that becomes your all-time high. And last week, or the last 2-week period, last month, right? September, we breached it again and rejected again. So now that we're back up here again, making another, once again, fresh all-time high, it looks much more constructive than it looks bearish. But what we haven't seen yet is we haven't really seen that big bullish expansion above, which is typically what we want to see in a short squeeze. So we'll see. It's just going to take time. I mean, this looks really bad, and the short sellers today in the RTY and the risk markets altogether are loving it, right? But tomorrow or Thursday even, the buyers could get all of this back so easy. So easy. Yeah, so even with Bitcoin, like it's taken out you've taken out Sunday's low now. No, it doesn't look great. But if you look at the weekly chart, this doesn't look bad either. For me, this thing will look fine all the way down to here. So it could sell off all day down to here, and I would be like, that's still okay. I wouldn't love it, but it would still be okay. A higher low support somewhere, anywhere. right? Looking at that fib, you're only down to the 236 of last week's range, which is a pretty shallow correction, right? If you're looking at this week in comparison to what last week did, this is still a relatively shallow pullback. But it's straight down today. Straight down. Yeah, that short was just absolutely flawless. That's one of the best situations that you could have asked for. Looking good. You got it. I was responding when you were looking at. Oh, okay. I got you. All right. Perfect. Yeah. Let's go see if we can't find a stock trade real quick. Because I've been looking. I just haven't found anything that I love yet. If you have a play that you think is setting up right now, we are paying attention to this, by the way. It's on watch. UPS, Amazon may be putting them out of business. We don't know yet. Could be, right? But that's a massive, this is a monthly chart here, so that's a massive swing low. Like, you got to go back all the way to 2013 to get UPS at these levels. So Amazon definitely hurting their business. So not necessarily looking for this to go back to all-time highs or nothing like that. Just looking at this potentially being massively overbought. Right? On the monthly time frame. So when was the last time UPS got massively overbought on the monthly time frame? Well, back in 2008. During the financial crisis. Well, we're back down there again. The chart does not look good. I'm not even going to joke around. It's been a straight 4 terrible years, and this year being one of the worst for UPS in its entire history. Okay? Now, with all that being said, we've been down here for a minute. This was the day or the area that we were looking to be buyers here. We thought we were going to get another opportunity in September, but it absolutely reversed in our face. So we're still looking at this. I don't want you to take my word for it, because obviously I don't know. I'm not a UPS insider. I have no idea what their P&L looks like. Like, why they're getting absolutely destroyed. There's a reason for it. However, if we go look at the analyst rating on this, right? Let's just focus on that. The analyst rating. You can see 12 analysts say this is a strong buy. 12 of them. 3 say it's a buy. 15 say it's a hold. Only 1 says it's a sell, and only 2 say it's a strong sell. So the analyst rating, based on 33 analysts, gives this a buy. It's a buy. Now, if you look at the 1-year forecast, this is not a year to date. It goes from October to October, right? At the worst case scenario, this thing could get down to $75. Or not worst case scenario. I guess that's the minimum worst case scenario. But an average return for a year would be $100. Now, obviously, day traders are not going to be interested in buying an $86 stock if $100 is the target. I get it. All I'm saying is it could be a good long-term buy and hold. A long-term buy and hold here. I think it would be simple to mitigate risk under $82. So this is a stock that you could literally buy 100 shares of, or 50 shares, or 20 shares of, whatever you want to buy. And if it loses $4 of value, you just get out, right? Just make it a small loss. Whatever you invest into it, just make sure that if it does lose that $4, it's not going to be very difficult for you to accept that. And in that case, this could be a long-term buy and hold play. UPS. It's definitely spending a lot of time down here accumulating, and that's a pretty good reaction right there off of the lows. It is suggestive that people are accumulating shares of UPS. So it might not be a bad buying opportunity. It might not be a bad option trade either. I think we were trying to put this on for a year, or not quite a year, but maybe out to like February of next year. Like, you could buy the 90 and sell the 105. So if we just put this trade on right here, right, where we buy the 90 strike and sell the 105, it would cost us $369 to put this trade on. And it has a potential max profit of $1,100. That's a fantastic risk to reward. That's better than 3-to-1. And if it breaks out above 105, well, it would have to break out above 105 in order for your max profit goal to be achieved. Right, it would have to get up above the 105 area, but at the same time, like, you're controlling 100 shares of stock with very, very little risk. So there are trades that we could put on, long-term trades even, that could pay nicely if it does ultimately start to rally off these lows. And just looking at the last 3 months here, you can see that it's not really been able to do much. Now, we probably don't want to buy it today, right? Because we're clearly into a resistance level, or a potential resistance level, being September's open. But we could be a buyer around 184.50, maybe. And what's so good about putting on an option trade like this is we're taking $369 and buying the premium to control 100 shares of stock. We're not going to lose that total $369. You know what I mean? We're only going, because there's 136 days on this trade, we have plenty of time to allow it to rally. Now, if it does fall, you're going to lose some of the value, but with 136 days, that gives you 44 days to hold this before you even get to the 90-day mark on that premium. So you're going to lose very little money when it comes to theta decay. So even if it were to drop, even say from here, you're probably only going to lose about half the premium. So in theory, one could mitigate 100 shares of stock, and you could lose a few dollars on this asset and only lose less than $200. In my opinion, that would be the best way to put on a trade like that. if you don't have enough money to just go out and buy 100 shares outright, right? That's generally why people use options, because they either have small accounts or they like the volatility the options provide. But either way, I leave it up to you to decide, but I'm probably going to put a trade like this on. This is day number 2 up here. So I may put this trade on end of day today. Because if it can't, I mean, it always could break back under it in the future. But if it's struggling to break back under it now, it just says the sellers really aren't there. Yet, at least. Yet, right? So this might just be like a longer term buy and hold trade here. I'm going to look around and see if I would rather put this on with a little bit more time than 136 days even. I wouldn't mind putting this on for like June of next year, but let me see if I can get that risk similar. You're probably not going to be able to. Nah, it's actually... you're going to pay a little bit more for the same trade, but you get to control a lot more time. So it's going to cost you an extra $60 to put this trade on. It's the same trade though. You're buying the 90 strike, so you're buying out of the money, and you're selling 105, so you're selling way out of the money. The 90's up here. So you really and truly don't, you will make profit on that move because the intrinsic value of the option alone will increase as price drives higher, but you're not going to make like a lot of money. You're not going to really start to see the P&L go up a lot until you get above the 105 strike, and that's way up there. So in a sense, you're just controlling a massive area and with 100 shares of stock with very little capital used. And you're not risking the entire capital. In order to lose all of that capital, the whole $430, this stock would need to literally go to zero, or you hold it for all the way to expiration, which that isn't even remotely what we're thinking about doing here. We'll see. I'll give it a little bit more time. We'll see what it does here, and we'll make a decision later on with it. But yeah, that's one of my favorites right now. This one is a low float, and I was looking to get involved when it got sideways, but it didn't have a deep enough correction for me. But now I'm wishing I would have bought it at 325. Because now it's breaking out. This company makes batteries for Anduril drones. Anduril is a weapons company for the U.S. They have it's a play on Anduril. Just look them up. They're a company that makes weapons, and they make operating systems and AI for weapons platforms for military contracts. They're not a publicly traded company yet, Anduril, but this company has a contract to supply batteries for those drones and those weapon systems. So people are buying up this stock right now while we're waiting for the Anduril IPO, if that makes sense. So you can't really get access to Anduril unless you're an insider or get lucky and get to become an insider. But so this is really the only play on that for right now. That's why you're seeing it up so much in just a short time here. Like, this thing is up, say you bought it at 260, you're up 60% on that trade. So my bad on not getting us. Actually, when I learned about the company, it was already at the $3.20 marker. So it wasn't a deep enough correction for me to get involved. I didn't want to be buying the highs. But judging by this thing, how it's starting to take off here, more and more people are coming aware to this thing. Now, see, in a scenario like this, the volume by time would be helpful, right? To show us just how much difference we're seeing in the accumulation of these shares. So clearly we're seeing a lot more volume trading in it now than what we did even back early this year. So not a terrible way to use the volume by time. I do like this thing, but I can't buy highs. That's my problem with it. I need a pullback. I need a consolidation. I need it to build in that, show me that people are willing to come in at a higher price. Buying it up here would just be simply looking for intraday scalps or something like that. And I'm looking for a longer term buy and hold on this. It's not really a super. Let's go see what the float is on it. I don't know if we probably won't, since it's a 5 ticker symbol, 5 letters in the ticker, KRKNF. Probably won't be able to find it on FinViz. Yeah, no good. So I can't find out how big the float is, if it's a low cap. I know it's a low cap, but I would love to see the float, how many shares are outstanding, all that stuff. It trades very thinly. If we look at it intraday, we can see that it does trade very thin. Whenever you see these kind of glitchy style candles like that, it just literally means that there's not many people participating in the stock. This could have been a news, because you can see how the liquidity got much thicker, much quick, like just boom. So this could have been a news. The volume is clearly heavier here than it was just back in these days. So the last 2 days have seen a massive influx in volume. We can check to see if there's any recent news here. Yesterday, yeah, Canadian defense and mining stocks gain as Ottawa boosts spending. I guess this is a Canadian company. So Kraken Robotics Incorporated is maintained at outperformed by National Bank. There is some news headlines on last, and then you get down to August. So it looks like this news is from yesterday, the Canadian defense. So I want to let this one pull back a little bit and build in another support similar to this, and then I will get involved in it, but just not right yet. I'm willing to let it go without me too. I'm not that concerned about it. We've already discussed Joby and Death. It needs to pull back a little bit. So we got Joby, KRKNF, which is Kraken, but not the crypto company Kraken, the battery company Kraken. UPS, those are a couple of our top 3 that we're watching. Qualcomm is software. A lot of people think AI is going to kill software. I don't think it's going to kill software, but it could have it could disrupt their bottom line large. We'll see what it does. But if it hasn't yet, I don't think it might not, right? To me, this looks like a long-term consolidation. but I don't want to buy it while it's on highs. I want to buy it when it's in support. But we got to give that time. Here's United Healthcare. This got a massive spike because it was brought up on the news that Warren Buffett's company, Warren Buffett is no longer part of that company, but his company bought a lot of shares of United Healthcare because why not? It was half off, more than half off, way more than half off down here. But that's why it's going up. Let it fill the gap. Let it pull into a support zone, maybe around the $300 area. If it could build in support up in around $300, we could buy it. Palo Alto Networks, one of Nancy Pelosi's favorites, or it used to be. I'm not sure if she's still holding these shares or not. It's a software company and it's making fresh all-time highs. So obviously AI is not having that bad of an effect on this yet. I don't know what those levels are. Let me know if there's a stock that you know of that is currently a perfect opportunity to be a buyer on. If it is building in support right now, let me know. Lyft is pushing down. SoFi. Let's go pull up SoFi. Okay, yeah, this looks okay. It's still up at highs, but we did get a pullback here. So let's see if it can chop around a little bit longer. Yeah, let's see if we can get a push under that 50 first. I would like that. Let's see if we can break down under the 50, and if we get a breakdown and then a gap up the next day, we could participate in it. So essentially what I'd be waiting for is this to basically trade lower, maybe close under the 50 for a day, and then gap up back above the 50. And then we could be a buyer on this day. So we'll give it a couple more days here. But I do like it. It's also a software company. Lyft is pushing down, so yeah, we're probably gonna have to close that one, as it is or was building in a consolidation here. But yeah, it is breaking that consolidation to the downside with some momentum too. So let's go ahead and get out of that one. Wait for a bounce first. It's probably not, I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully, I don't know, man. It's breaking down pretty heavily today. So is Bitcoin. Yeah. It's almost about to fill the gap. Hell, we might as well wait for a minute now to see if we can get a bounce. It's still a the risk was mitigated on this, so it's still a very small loss. But yeah, this one did not work. We got in this one a little bit too quick, I think. We should have allowed that gap to fill. But it didn't look like it was going to on this day right here. I thought we were going. Giving it all back the next day kind of made me go, eh. But yeah, we'll see if it bounces today. Miles, what's up, buddy? I hope you're good. Just wondering your thoughts on Chinese stocks right now. Let's pull up BABA. BABA has been absolutely soaring to the upside, so we gotta let this thing cool off for a while. Gotta let it cool off. It's got to form a support zone somewhere. We'll allow that to happen first. They're absolutely exploding in value. See, it built in a very long-term support here. Multi-month range. Those are typically the best plays. When you built in a multi-month range like that. Fantastic stuff. I mean, you're still kind of trading above September's high right here where you're at, and it's having a significant down day today. So let's see if it can pull back into September's midpoint. Let's see if it can push that deep. If it could push that deep, that would probably be a good area to look. It's a volatile stock. They're like nice expansion here, pullback month, and then that month it was a deep correction. So waiting for a similar thing to take place here. You might get in there. Just make sure you're not taking it too heavy, so that way if it does ultimately continue to push down into this open, you can get out and then retry it there. So the two first places that I would want to be a buyer on BABA, let's get rid of all these because that's already played out. These will be the next two areas that I would be interested in being a buyer on BABA. 155, and then if it breaks down from there, 134. It's obviously going to, how much momentum is in it when it does break down will be very important as well. But BABA looks good, and then FXI also looks really good. That's probably why BABA is going up as well. This is the iShares China Large Cap ETF. It's not exploding in value like BABA is, but it has been on a very consistent trend where it's been pulling back, finding support, and bouncing. Right? So these are the areas that you're going to be waiting for on this. Yeah. Maybe down around 39.58 we could be looking at this. This is a very slow mover. But here's the thing, I mean, Trump is trying to bring manufacturing back to the US, so if he's successful in doing that, it might cause Chinese stocks to pull back a little bit deeper. And then JD.com is also a Chinese company. Let's look at that, and then yeah, even it was doing good there for a little bit. So this one might actually be interesting here. Fresh breakout. You got a daily support way down there. Okay, this one's rejecting the 200 simple. I think the 200 exponential moving average could be a potential good buy here. That's going to be the purple line. If it can build in support there, I would like it there. JD.com. JD.com. So the bonk trade is giving it all back, but that's okay. It got up to like $270 in profit. So we've actually made money by taking the fart coin short here. We're up nicely. That's generally what I look to make, scalping cryptos on a day-to-day basis. So since we're getting late in the session here, I'll probably take profits on this and then look for a retest up around the supply zone, and then maybe look for a new entry for any downside break continuation it wants to give. You're pushing down into the 50 here, so this could actually find support here. And then let's see what Bonk looks like. Yeah, Bonk is getting ready to stop me out. So we're breaking under the 50 RSI, under the 50 EMA. So Bonk looks pretty rough here. This doesn't look good at all for Bonk. And then right here is your big mover on the day, Dude. And then Broccoli. Dude's got 39 million tokens traded. Ooh, look at that funding rate. Funding rate supports longs. When positive, the long pay the shorts. When negative, the shorts pay the longs. So this countdown is going to be done in 11 minutes. That's because we're going to open a brand new 4-hour candle for the crypto markets. Crypto markets 4-hour candles, always 8, 12, and 4. 8, 12, 4. So it's like 8, 12, 4. 8, 12, 4, 8, 12, 4, right? So when this opens up a new 4-hour candle, if this is every hour, if you're paying this, then it would be worth a long just for that. Not a big money long because this thing is moving a lot. Yeah, that's, you're looking at just a retest from the open of this candle down to the low is 4%. It's 8.5% down to that low. So a large position on this with a lot of leverage, you're not going to be able to put a large position on this. But that's a very nice funding rate to open a long. The thing about cryptos is when they give up the ghost, sometimes they give up the ghost quick. So what I would want to see is I would want to see this thing be able to hold this low and not push hard and fast under it. So I'll probably be looking for long positions here later on in the day with a very small position just to kind of make money on the funding. Now, if the funding is every 4 hours, which is normal and typical, then it's not going to support a heavy bid. But if it's every hour, that will support a heavy bid. And you can expect sideways prices for a long time. But we'll see what it does here in 9 minutes. But anyways, you hold some leverage, Baba, and getting a little nervy holding on to it still. It just depends on where you bought it at, Miles. If you're holding leveraged longs on Baba, you're seeing a significant drawdown today. Not a drawdown as per your P&L, but just from where this stock opened up today. Right? It's down significantly. It depends on where your entry is, whether or not I would be worried, right? So like if I bought the October open, yeah, I'd be concerned because it's almost right back there. I'd be very concerned. If you bought the September open, well, then you have nothing to worry about yet, right? Nothing at all. So it just matters where you put that position on. The way that I do it is when it moves in the right direction, when I enter that position, when I get my move, I always have a profit target before I enter the trade. So like today, I mean, it doesn't matter that we took a day trade today, right? On Fartcoin. The timeline is irrelevant. Right? So you can pretend like instead of me getting short here, my target was here because that was a 4%, 4 point something percent move. Right? So I was looking at that. So that's why that was my target. So as price pushes down into this, you would want to take your money. That way, if it rips back up into your face, you're good. You've made money on the trade. You've paid yourself for taking the risk in the first place. A lot of times what we do as traders, though, is we get greedy. We get the move in our direction and then more, and then we just sit and hold it, hoping and praying that it keeps going. But we know that ain't what usually happens. What usually happens is it comes back, right? Prices are they oscillate more than they trend. So just, yeah, I mean, I would take profits. That way a move like this wouldn't be so brutal to set through. Because this, I'm not going to kid you, that's a pretty vicious move to the downside today. Wasn't really expecting that. But here it is nonetheless. So just, yeah, it looks like it's heading back to September's open. It could ultimately bottom out here because this would be technically a daily demand zone, but you're so extended up here. Like you've been overbought on the daily time frame since this day. That's when you initially tagged overbought. Now, to be fair, you did pull back and then hit overbought again here. But you've been completely overbought since this close. Every day since. You've been massively overbought. So you knew a pullback was coming. This is an oscillator. It is going to pull back. Eventually. So that's why buying overbought markets is typically not a great idea. Now, they can stay overbought a lot longer than we can anticipate, or a lot longer than we would think it can. But at the same time, when it is overbought, you know eventually it is going to come back. Eventually. And you can split this oscillator up pretty good here, right? So this was a massive overbought spot to the time it got oversold. What? 2.5, 3 months maybe? Then you went from oversold to almost overbought back to oversold again, another quarter. This time it went from overbought to oversold to overbought. So now it's finally trending. But once again, you've been overbought for almost a month. So it is going to pull back. So I would be seriously thinking about taking some money off the table. Make the risk a little bit smaller. That way, and make sure you set a stop at break-even prices. Never let a green trade turn red. You have control of that. That's all you have control of. You have no control over what price does. But you can control whether or not you eat a loss after the stock moves in the right direction. That's what you can control. So make sure you control that. You can always re-enter this stock. Always. You can always rebuy this stock at a lower price. I don't know that it's going to continue to go lower. You know, it could find support here, but at the same time, it's still massively overbought on the daily. I mean, you're massively overbought on the weekly. This thing's probably going to pull back. It's probably going to pull back aggressively. Because one bad thing about BABA is when it does start to pull back, it can really pull back. It did it here too, right? Boom. Overbought. Boom. All the way back to midpoint. So that could happen here. It's going to take several weeks to do it, but in theory, this thing could pull back again to here. Now, where price is when that happens is anybody's guess. It doesn't have to pull back that deep, but it probably will. And that would be the time to be looking to be a buyer. Midpoint checks or oversold checks are good places to look to buy. There it goes. So we got bullish divergence here on UPS. As price is putting in lower lows, but the oscillator is putting in higher lows. Now this oscillator is calculated by the close and not the low. So to make sure the divergence is true, you need a lower weekly close on price. You got 3 lower weekly closes there. So you've been printing divergence. This is bullish divergence. So a great place to be a buyer on UPS if we pull back this deep. Based on weekly divergence, would be $84.99. I don't know if it's going to pull back that deep, but if it does, I think I'll put that long trade on here, as that would be a midpoint check, and I would be wanting to see it rally from that point. So that's, USO. I'm not big on oil right now. Oil is trending lower, but if the dollar starts to trend higher, we might see oil rally. USO is in a buyable opportunity here, right? It's not trending. It's been consolidating for a long time. So this is typically what we want to look for when we're buying stuff here. So there's your old monthly support level to watch, or a old monthly support level to watch. It's an objective open. It's a close. It's the close of November's candle. It held support there. It got front ran there, and it's holding here. You're also testing the midpoint there. So USO, I don't love this. This could be a fresh breakdown. Then again, it could also be a trap. If USO could stay trading above 72.43, I could be a buyer. That's the weekly open. We're bouncing up off the 40 on the RSI, so it tried to get bearish momentum. It still has. I mean, you haven't bounced strong, so there's probably another leg of sell side coming. I'm not loving the buy on this. It just depends on what oil does, but it is in an area where we can start looking to be a buyer. USO. Zoom also pulling back. Zoom looks like it's rejecting though. Got some sort of a trap there. Still very choppy. We're trading under September's low, so I don't love that because it could be setting in a downtrend here. I'll tell you what, if Zoom can maintain 79.79 moving forward this week, like if it got back above that, I could be a buyer on Zoom for the near term. Just for the near term. I'd want to see today be that trap. So what we can do with Zoom, see how we're closing under the 50 today? Zoom might be a trade tomorrow, depending on what it does today. If Zoom holds here and closes above the 200 today, that's the 200 simple. This could be a buying opportunity on Zoom. So tomorrow, what would we want to see? We would want to see a gap up above 79.79. Just a gap up. If it gapped up and opened up here, then I could be a buyer on that retest. In anticipation of that. Then we could potentially see a rally, a good strong rally for a couple days. But we would need to see it gap back above at least this price. I would rather see it gap back above the 50, but this is last week's low. Oh, sorry, not last week's low. You're well under last week's low. It's last month's low. Sorry. Last month's low. So, yeah. Couldn't do it on Wednesday of last week, and we couldn't do it yesterday. We're doing it today. So today is the liquidation. Today you are liquidating all the longs from September. So we literally could see today be the day. But I don't want to buy it today because it can keep going down, right? Depending on how many stop losses are getting triggered, how much sell side liquidity is being pulled into the market right now. It could cause it to continue lower. So we want to wait for that to be done. The best way for that to be done, not always, but sometimes, is a gap up the next day. Because that means anybody who's selling today based on this fresh breakdown will be stuck if you gap up tomorrow. So Zoom is going to be the first thing we look at tomorrow morning on the open. If it's gapping down under today's low, we're not interested in it, as you're probably going to see it come back down to 75.68 at that point. This is just a daily swing low. This daily swing low right here, not important. Okay, it's a weekly swing low. Kind of important. It's kind of important. It's a weekly swing low. Not super important. I like monthly swing lows. They're better. I think now that we're under that, if the buyers are showing up, it's going to tell us. It's going to let us know. We could go ahead and look at volume here too, to see if we're seeing a massive increase in volume today. Well, we're not seeing anything yet. But by the end of the day, if you got a massive increase in volume today, I would be very interested in what it does tomorrow. So keep Zoom on the list for tomorrow. If it's gapping up, I'm going to be a buyer probably. All right, we're going to wrap it up since we got one to watch. And of course, we're always going to be keeping an eye on on cryptos and whatever else people want to see. So yeah, we're getting a small bounce on lift. I would say see if it can bounce a little bit higher and then exit it. Don't exit it on the lows. That's like literally the worst time to exit it. You're seeing a pretty nice little bounce here. It's getting close And it's getting close to where we can exit it. We don't want it to continue lower. We just don't want to get rid of it on the lows. But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.